Hola, bon dia. Munson here from Expats Portugal with the Good Morning Portugal show. And we're going to what I've discovered. I mean, I knew it in my mind, but I was just talking with my very special guest this morning, Les Gallagher from the Oceanic franchise, I'm going to call it. All things Oceanic with Les. He's in the Azores this morning. And that's some 1,000 miles away, I believe, from Portugal. One of the two autonomous regions, Madeira being the other, and the Azores making the duo that is the Portuguese autonomous regions. But a third of the way to America. So a slightly different feel this morning in bringing the Azores onto the show in the shape of Les Gallagher, who's near now. I'm bringing him on the screen. How are you, Les, this morning? Bon dia to you.
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you very much, Carl. Thank you for the invitation. Very, very good to be here, I think.
Well, let's find out. Someone suggested, thank you, Lisa, for originally saying you should get Les on the show. And primarily it's because I think you love all things marine and oceanic, and we need to set the scene. But we're going to be talking certainly about your initiative to help with marine oceanic awareness conservation in schools in Portugal, which is the mainstay of the interview. But since we set that up, I found out so many other interesting things about you and your life aquatic, if I can put it like that. So to go back a little bit, rewind, as we were talking just before the show there, you are actually an Englishman, British by birth, right? Is that where it all began?
Yeah, that's right. I was brought up on the Wirral, so I spent a lot of my time on the sands there. I had an uncle who was a commercial fisherman, so I was exposed to the rigors of the ocean from a very early age. And we lived in a very rural area on the Wirral Peninsula on the south side. So there was always a lot of greenery and nature and whatnot. And about the age of 17, I was doing a lot of fishing and boating in England. And I was dreaming about the open ocean and all the big animals, the tunas and the sharks and the marlins. So I decided to go on an adventure. The Azores seemed like a likely place, and decided to try out a few months in the Azores with the idea of staying maybe a few months, maybe a year. And well, still here 34 years later, so something good happened. The Azores is a very good place.
That's what will happen if you follow your dreams. Of course, yesterday I gave people a preview or an insight into your fantastic bar in Fayal that you've got. So we'll get around to talking about that as well. Some of those people are here already, and I suspect there will be questions about the Azores, which I'm hoping you're happy to answer as well. A fascinating place, an archipelago. Is that right? Am I using the right term?
Yes, that's right. It's an archipelago. We have 9 islands in the Azores. We're based here in Horta. The town of Horta with its world-famous marina. It's a crossing point for a lot of sailboats. The first ones have just arrived already, coming across from the Caribbean on the way to the Mediterranean, the spring run. So we probably have about 10 or 12 boats in at the moment. And normally the busy period is May and June. So we have this melting pot of different nationalities and different cultures coming here. It's a very vibrant place. This time of year, and Horta is in the, as I say, in the central group on the island of Fayal. So that's where we're located, right in the middle of the ocean, pretty much. Well, about a third of the way across to America, and we're right on top of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. So it doesn't get much more remote, and it doesn't get much more oceanic either.
Indeed. I like truly romantic, the stuff of movies. There you are. I mean, we'll talk about your illustrations, obviously, and there you are in where the magic happens. I think behind you, it looks like you're in your studio. But what an amazing place to be! You know, your childhood dream, your boyhood dream, realized with your life now in the Azores, and then these boats coming in, ships coming in on the way from the Caribbean. Did you say to the Mediterranean? How exciting is that?
Yeah, this is something we have this every year. Normally in March, we have some of the larger boats coming ahead of the rest because they're bigger. They don't wait on the weather. So we have a run of super yachts and tall ships. And this is after the dark months of the Azores, because it is quiet here in the winter. I mean, it does get pretty quiet. But after the dark months, everything starts getting busy again in Horta. The boats start arriving. We have tall ships, which are actually school ships. So suddenly we have all these young people running around, like 18 years old, 19 years old. And they're very much alive. They're challenging the ocean. They're out there in the elements, etc., and they come into the Azores, and yeah, it's very good. We do some events here at Oceanic. We have a big projector, a 4K projector with a 3-meter screen, and we host events. When these groups come in, they can share what they've learned on the trip with the people of Horta.
Wow.
They get environmental campaigns for cleaning up beaches and all this sort of thing. There's a very strong culture here amongst the people to promote marine nature. And there's also this meeting point for these these navigators crossing the ocean. Makes it a very, very interesting place to be.
Sounds like it. And I must say, I've never been that bothered about, wanting to sail. But this morning I suddenly am. It sounds like such an exciting life.
Come on over. We're waiting for you. Come on. We'll have a drink in front of the barbecue there in the back terrace of the Oceanic. You're very welcome.
Now you're talking. But there's a few greetings coming in this morning for you and me, Les. Ola Faulty. How rude is Penny in Devon in the UK. Greetings from Harrogate, sunny here in Yorkshire. Mark Rigby in the north of Portugal. Bon dia from an overcast Povoa de Vargem, another marvellous maritime place on the green coast there. Bon dia from Matosinhos, fishing town, of course, or fishing city of Portugal. Matosinhos, Joel is up there. Gary Austin, bon dia, alegria todos. And Paul and Louise over there in the UK, bon dia, alegria from a sunny kitchen table. Nice and landlubbers, very, very safe there in the middle of England, I think. So let's go to the sort of primary reason why you're here. And these extraordinary illustrations that you do, I know Penny, who's already tuned in and said hello, will be absolutely stunned by your beautiful work, as many other people will be in our community. This is your work, isn't it, Les? This is incredible, or part of what you do. Yeah,
that's right. Well, you see, it rains a lot here in the winter, so there's not much to do. So I started drawing fish. I was illustrating a lot in England. I was always very interested in arts, and when I arrived here, after the first couple of years, I started. It was actually funny the way it started, because I had some illustrations on the wall, and we had a director here of a local design company, and he was paragliding and he landed in the field next to the house, and when he knocked at the door to use the telephone, he had illustrations on the wall, and when he finished his conversation, he was calling someone to come and pick him up, and he was curious. He asked who made the illustrations, and I said, well, I did. And so suddenly I was recommended to go to the university, the Department of Oceanography and Fisheries, which is the department of the University of the Azores, and to begin work as a scientific illustrator. So the work actually fell out of the sky, and that's how it all started. And it was perfect for me, because in the winter, I was working with boats and charter boats and fishing in the summer, and the winter was a quiet time. So suddenly I was making scientific illustrations, which was great.
Hold on a minute. I've got a feeling we're going to have several more of these sorts of anecdotes. So a man falls out of the sky to tell you should take your illustration career to the next level. Is this sort of thing happen every day in the Azores? People sort of paragliding into your back garden and needing to use the phone to get picked up?
Not yet today, no.
Okay, but then again, it is only 9:10 in the morning. Incredible. So, you must have been pretty good anyway. What did going to university and becoming part of the scientific illustration department bring to what you were doing?
Well, what I was doing then with the fishing and boating, I was always interested in working with biologists anyway. I'd always had an interest in nature.
Yeah.
And so I felt quite at home. Suddenly I was in this environment that I didn't expect as a scientific illustrator. And it was, I worked with the director at the time, was Dr. Ricardo Saran Santos, who's now at this moment the Minister of Maritime Affairs of Portugal. But I worked with him when I started there. I went on to work with him for approximately 20 years, and so he was always a great promoter of the work. And we did some fantastic work. We embarked on many great projects. The Azores is a center for marine science and research with many international collaborations. And so the work was extensive. It was super interesting. It was sort of cutting edge as well, because at one stage we started off making China ink illustrations, and it was just basic scientific illustration. And then around 2001, there started to become demand for color illustration. We wanted people to care about the animals. We were starting to, the concerns were mounting about ocean conservation. Yes. And if you look at fish in general, they are promoted, and in the old days anyway, promoted as being good-looking food. So you look at how they are communicated by the supermarkets, by the recipe books, and the food shows. They are presented as good-looking food. They're not presented in a way that the people in the industry want the consumers to care about them. And so we wanted to change that. So we wanted to make illustrations that reveal the natural beauty of fish, because they're extraordinarily beautiful when you see them as they come out of the water, and they still have all the colors and the textures and everything. They're amazing animals, but so few people, unless they're out there in the ocean, and if they're in the main cities, they don't get to see that. So they don't care so much about their existence, and they're not careful about what they choose to eat. So the whole motivation for creating this portfolio of color illustrations is really to reach consumers. It was an outreach strategy, and it's been very successful in many ways. I mean, we have a big list of products that we've created, and the distribution has been vast, and we're ongoing with that. In fact, the building I'm in now is a building that we bought to be a new communication center for marine life, and with focus on oceanic marine life.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. Agreed. Penny's agreeing with me. Amazing illustrations, as I'm sure other people are agog looking at your beautiful work. Would that ever end up as beautiful looking food? What have we got there?
No, this is a stock-like loose jaw. This is actually a very small fish. It's only about 6 or 7 centimeters long. It's a mesopelagic fish, which means it's in the deep water. And probably you find these guys at around 700 meters depth. This is one of the interesting things about the Azores, and especially Horta, is that we have immediate access into the deep ocean. Yes. So we have on the surface, we have all these big epipelagic animals. We have all the big whales and dolphins and the huge fish. But then the water, within 10 minutes, you can be in water that's going on for 700 to 1,000 meters deep. So you're in an ecosystem that's that's made up of sea mountains. You have species that are highly migratory, and you also have these very, very deep species and there's an absolutely huge array of deep water species around us here.
Mm. It's incredible, Les, because I'm getting an incredible sense of awe from what you're doing, and you're encouraging that, haven't you? And your work has been, I mean, if not directly, it's certainly a consequence that people are, as you say, turning from this idea of good-looking food into truly creating a reverence and an awe for the sea, this great thing that we really know so little about, it seems to me, really, and apart from its majesty and its danger and its beauty and all those wonderful things, really elemental experiences and awareness that we have about marine life. And things have changed, I think, haven't they? I mean, if I think what my own marine consciousness is it goes from Jaws, back in, what was that, the late 70s or something, through to an age now where people are truly and on a widespread scale concerned about conservation and plastic in the sea. I mean, so you've seen that journey. You've seen the public get educated, right? And you've been part of it.
Yes, working with the university, we've made a lot of outreach. I mean, we've produced in our time, I think we're up to something like 150,000 posters. We've produced various books, marine life guides, including a consumer guide, which I think still to date is the most published textbook in the Azores. I think we ended up with about 13,000 copies that were were produced. The prints also are very good because we have a lot of people coming out here that are naturalists. They come here for the ocean diving with sharks, diving with manta rays.
Wow.
We have the whale watchers, of course. And so these people like to take the artwork with them, and that we export them worldwide. So they're projecting a very good image of the biodiversity of the marine life we have here in the Azores on a very broad spectrum. So yeah, we have seen a lot of outreach to not just to the general public, but also by the schools. And that's the project that we're working on now. The latest project is to put a new poster in every school in Portugal. I think there's about 2,700 schools for children aged 10 to 17. And we will have produced 6,000 posters by the end of July. And we will be making the distribution in collaboration with the authorities in the mainland. That's all been established. So that's the current deliverable that we're sort of working towards now, but that'll be done by the end of September.
Amazing. So what's the idea? What do you want to bring about in the schools in terms of the consciousness of the young people there?
Well, people care about what they can see, and they tend to care about what is beautiful. So if we want to engage, the big thing that we're trying to do is engage the public. So it's relatively easy. If you want to talk about mammals and lions and tigers and rhinos, it's relatively easy to communicate them because we can see them. It's not that difficult to photograph them. We can visualize them in their habitat. They're closer to our own biology because they look after their young. They communicate. We can understand their suffering. We can understand their playfulness. So it's easy to reach people and make people care about such animals. With whales also, it's relatively easy. I mean, they're very big for a start, which makes them impressive. They make quite an impact, but they're also intelligent. They also communicate. They're close to our own biology. But the fish don't have that. They do have characteristics that are very specific, but they're not obvious. And people find it difficult to care about fish. From an early age, they're brainwashed by these images in the supermarkets and in the recipe books, and fish is presented and assumed to be just good-looking food, when actually it shouldn't be like that. People should, if they can see the beauty in nature, then they will start to care, to take a closer interest and start to understand biology and understand just how integrated they are with our ecosystem and how important it is that we make better decisions as consumers in what we're eating. So yeah, it's all about reaching people and using the scientists know what's going on with the ocean. They know what needs to be communicated, but as intellectuals, they tend to think verbally, and they communicate verbally. So it's all, it's all writing, it's articles, etc., and they express that we need to take more care. But the general public respond better to the usual marketing tools of a beautiful or intriguing image first, followed up by the subject matter. And so that's what we try to do. We try to create a beautiful image or an intriguing image and engage the public, and then we can deliver some further information. So talking about the posters, one of the things we're doing, the new poster that we're going to produce later this year, this is the Ocean Giants of Portugal. Portugal is the most oceanic country in Europe. We want to get more young people to be able to visualize more about the ocean. So putting these very high quality illustrations on a poster, but we, at the same time, we also put some interesting data there. Like some of the animals are living till more than 100 years. Some of them dive to beyond 2,000 meters. So you've got the maximum length, the maximum age, the maximum depth, and children study these. They discuss them. They fix those numbers. And then later, when they're approached with ocean studies, etc., they have an anchor point. They have something. They'll take an interest in studying the ocean because they've got an idea of what lives there, what exists there. And this is the most important thing. Get that first step, that first engagement is what we strive to do with the illustration works.
This is amazing. It's so true, so right what you're saying, and that engagement is really important, isn't it? So it's typically, classically, seeing fillets of fish, isn't it, which gives you no reference point to what's really going on, and thereby meet our human responsibility to be. I suppose the word husbandry comes to mind. You know, there's a growing awareness, isn't there, in agriculture, that we are part of things rather than just producers and consumers, and we've seen what mess that's got us into with factory farming and so on. And you're bringing about a similar sort of an analogous awareness in the seas, right? You know, with changing people's very perception. And how interesting that you do that in the country here, that the most oceanic country of Europe, possibly, I think you said, and I'm not sure people do recognise or realise any of that.
Yeah, we can say it's the most oceanic country in Europe, Portugal, because we have the largest economic zone. So the ZE is the largest in Europe. I mean, yeah. I know Norway has a very long coastline, probably more coastline in terms of kilometers than Portugal, but the actual areas under the jurisdiction of Portugal is the largest in Europe. So yeah, Portugal has this tremendous connection with the ocean and navigation, as we all know from the discoveries. But now and in the future with marine science, Portugal has a tremendous role to play in the future. And luckily in the Azores and with the people that I worked with here for the last decades, is a very strong culture to protect and to conserve what is precious here.
Yeah, and I think that's something people can get behind once they understand it, and that's where obviously the important work is going on at the moment. Quite incredible, really amazing. Because yeah, I mean, you think of currently my view of how marine life of the ocean is considered in Portugal is like yum, lots of lovely seafood, and the statistic you see that Portugal, understandably because of its positioning, is the greatest consumer of seafood and sea fish, certainly in Europe, as I understand it. But there's something else to do, as Matt Cowley's saying here. Exactly, we need to work in cooperation with nature, and that's exactly what we're talking about this morning. Fantastic. Bon dia alegria, Granja have an ocean aquarium. Us near here in Espinho. Thank you and good morning to you, Marcus Valbon, Ian Turner. Celebrating more sun in the UK. Perfect for getting out into nature and grabbing some exercise. Here's the link. Perhaps we can talk a bit more about this. People can get involved, and often people do get inspired and want to, okay, how can I help? How can I help? This is one obvious way to do that. How's it working with the Patreon site here, Les?
Well, we're not that experienced in fundraising, but we've started for this initiative, and this is the first time we tried it. And we set out Patreon is a fundraising type site that's American based, and it's a subscription based way to contribute, which has started off pretty slow. We've actually, I think this is an American model, and a lot of people are contributing to what we call Oceanic Quests, which you can also find on the Oceanic website. They prefer to make a one-time donation instead of being donating on a monthly basis. But Patreon is very good because we can post all the artwork in very high resolution. So if anyone's really interested to have a look and see just how big the images are, then they can have a look through the Patreon site. And yeah, we're working on two fronts, and it's going well. We're ahead of schedule. As you can see there, Patreon has been slow to take, but overall our fundraising is going pretty good.
Well, I mean, I'm sharing this on the screen because I suspect people are thinking, wow, this is amazing. The work that Les is doing and his colleagues is incredible. This is an important thing. And you can support it from €3 a month. If you want to go further and go to the highest tier currently on the screen there, you can even commission one of the limited edition prints delivered to any destination in the UK. So how lovely would that be to have that on your wall there, folks? And so that's the Patreon site link is there. I urge you to get involved, and I'm certainly going to sign up and you know feel a part of the wonderful work you're doing there. Les, that's quite incredible. So what help is needed? I mean, this is the Good Morning Portugal show. You want to get into Portuguese schools. What help can people give you on the ground here?
Well, on the ground is share the link, spread the word, basically, is what that'll be really appreciated. That's what, you know, fundraising really gets moved along when that happens. So that'd be great, just to share what we're doing. And,
keep sharing.
We also, for contributions, we'll also be sending out signed or remarked pieces of artwork and the posters. So the posters are normally 68 centimeters wide by 98 centimeters tall. So it's quite a big poster. Look great on any wall. And
Yeah.
we'll be sending out, anyone who's contributed will be getting a poster with a remark with thanks for the contribution.
Tremendous, tremendous. Okay, Circus School Paul is here. Bon dia to the both of you. Blue skies and sunshine in Northampton, UK today. Oceanic looks and sounds fantastic. Love the website. I'll have to visit as soon as possible. From Moscow this morning, Caroline's here. Bon dia. Hello to you, Caroline. Andre's here also. Bon dia, Alegria. Alyssa, bon dia from a sunny Birmingham this morning. Bon dia from one of your neighbours. Look, Donna's in Terceira, Azores. Probably a neighbour, but still probably quite far away, in fact. Would that be right?
Yeah, about 70 miles away. So, yeah,
really?
But that's neighbours for the Azores. That's neighbours.
Right. And not a straightforward journey of jumping into the car either.
No, not at all.
Okay, there is. October is here. Beautiful illustrations. What's snorkeling like in Portugal? Any good? So, can you snorkel in the Azores? Would you do that? And what other opportunities are there for people going to the Azores and learning about all this wonderful stuff we're talking about this morning, Les?
Well, the snorkeling is excellent. We have the water quality here. The clarity is superb because we don't have a continental shelf, so there's no sediment. So the first thing that people notice when they get in the water that they can see really long distances. And snorkeling around the islands, it's not. I mean, we don't have corals like the Red Sea or anything like that. But what we have these. A very rough topography, so there's caves and crevices and often in these places you have big groupers, big fish. You can go snorkeling out on the seamounts. If you can jump on a charter boat and go out to the Princess Alice Bank, which is 44 miles out, do a 2-hour run, and you can go snorkeling with the manta rays. So you have these huge rays, sometimes 10, 12 feet in wingspan. And you can go and look at those. You can snorkel with dolphins. There's some questions about the ethics of that. Some people think it's not correct to be in the water with the dolphins, but as far as I know, it's still possible. Mm-hmm. People really enjoy it. So yeah, it's a whole, I would say, universe, but we have a huge array of activities that you can do here in the water and snorkeling in many different types of habitat. So yeah, definitely recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, swim with sharks as well, I think you said earlier on. And then at the end of a tiring day of snorkeling and wide-eyed and agog with the wonder of marine life, you can just nip into the Oceanic. Well, probably there's no nipping in. You're probably there for the evening, aren't you? Tell us about the spin-off that is the Oceanic Bar that I was telling people about yesterday. How did you get into the hospitality trade as well as all of this?
It's almost that's a rehearsed question because I have a good answer for that. But, I'd always wanted to have an exhibition area, so we're interested to buy a big building in Horta, and we were looking for some time. At first, I wrote the Oceanic project in 2013. Many times I thought it was too ambitious. I thought, no, this is going to be too big. It's going to be too difficult, etc. And then some of my friends they encouraged me, said, no, you must do it. I wrote 4 different business plans for 4 different businesses within the same building. And at some stage, I thought, this is ridiculous. This isn't going to happen. And I stopped and I showed it to one friend of mine and said, you have to do this. So we got involved in this madness of looking for a building. I say we because at this time I have two other partners. And they've been with me since the beginning, or since 2015 when we bought the Oceanic building. And we were very lucky because we found this building to be available. It's a 200-year-old building, or it was built in 1822, so it's nearly 200 years old. And we have 1,200 square meters of interior space. Now, we have different things that we're constructing here. I'm in the store at the moment. This is the Oceanic store. The bar is on the other side. It's a very large bar. We have 4-meter ceilings. The beams there are it's northeastern white pine from the US, brought here 200 years ago.
Wow.
They're absolutely huge. The first thing that people notice when they walk into the bar is the size of the beam. So these trees were probably about 400 to 500 years when they were cut, and they've been up there for 200 years now. So anyway, the building is very interesting. But what I was getting to about getting involved in the bar, we had all these business plans to use different types of the building for different things. And the place where the bar is, we decided that it would be best just to rent it out as a commercial area, and then use that rent to do the other things that we're doing with interpretation and studio and whatnot. And anyway, about a year and a bit into the project, we had this space available, and I was going to open an art gallery there as to complement the store. And my partner said, no, if you're going to do something, we want to be involved in it, in a business that we can all take part in. So I said, so what do you want to do? And they said, let's open a cafe, a bar. And I'd already looked at the numbers, and I thought it was a ridiculous amount of work. It was so many hours and so much commitment, and all the other things I want to do. I didn't really want to be involved. So I said, look, okay. I had to respect their opinion. So I said, look, okay, we'll build it. I'll build it for you. I'm a carpenter also. And so we built the bar, and they were going to manage it, which was, great. They selected a team that was going to take care of it, etc. It was all done in quite a rush just before the season. I delayed preparing the charter boats I look after. I look after 5 charter boats here. I drive one of them for 2.5 months of the year. And so all that work was late. We were opening the bar. No one believed it was going to be ready. We opened on we were supposed to open on June 9th of 2017, opened on June 10th, which, thank God, the band didn't get on the flight for some reason. We had an Irish band for the opening night. And we were late. We were working all night. We didn't finish till the following day. But until 2 weeks before we opened the bar, no one believed it could possibly be ready.
Yeah.
And then and 2 weeks before, everyone started getting nervous. It's going to be ready. So, and it was. And we had a fantastic night. We suppose we had more than 1,000 people through the bar that evening. That we had a band on from Lisbon, the guys that normally play down there in Cais. And it was absolutely fantastic. So anyway, the management team, the new team, I was just watching from a distance, letting my partners manage. Everything went badly about 5 weeks in. Everyone was getting tired. Some people were hired based on energy and enthusiasm rather than experience, and everything fell apart. So then suddenly I had to step in. I was just starting my charter season. I had 7. There were 7 staff. I had 4 junior staff, and so for the following days when everything fell apart, I started watching that program, Bar Rescue. I don't know if you've seen Bar Rescue. I'm watching 2 episodes a day every morning before leaving the house at 7 o'clock to start my charter days. And I ordered 3 books on pub management, bar management, which I read one after the other within like 10 days. And we survived. I had one young guy that I absolutely trusted him. He was a very, very sincere guy somewhere. He became the manager. I think he was 20 at the time.
Wow.
Of this bar, and we survived. It was great. We actually turned quite a good profit that summer. So that was the start of the madness. So that's how we started in the bar business. It was never intended.
That's incredible. I mean, you had so many things going against you. I mean, not specifically locally, but just generally speaking, starting a bar or restaurant is madness, generally speaking, isn't it? And they don't tend to turn a profit. And there you were, profitable and exciting within the first year.
Yeah, and in the second year, we were hosting live music. This was a great experience on the weekend. We managed to finish 2018. We did 75 nights of live music. So where every weekend it was manic. I mean, it was absolutely chocker every weekend. It's been a great experience. I mean, it's been trying, it's been challenging, tiring, not easy. But and actually we're just opening today. We've been closed all winter because we don't have much business in the winter and because of the pandemic. But the bar opens today is the first day this year, and we can open until midnight. And we have a big terrace out in the back. We can put tables of 10 people in the outside area. And but this is what we did last year during the pandemic also. And every Friday and Saturday, we had to hire security to stop people coming in. We were so busy. So that madness is starting again tonight. Tonight, probably not so much because the weather's pretty bad, but tomorrow and Saturday we're expecting a big crowd again. So yeah,
it's so good of you to join me on the morning of the reopening of the bar. I really appreciate it. That is a wonderful story in among so many wonderful stories this morning. Good morning, Carl and all, from Mark. I hope you're feeling better, Mark, who was in A&E yesterday and back home now. Bon dia, more sun. Oh, we've done that one, haven't we? Bon dia, alegria, and the aquarium there. Oh, yes, here we go. Matt Cowley's. We'll come back to that because that was great. Yeah, we need to work in cooperation with nature. Good point, Matt. Mark going on to say, developing a sense of the place and relationship of all the elements of our food supply informs better understanding and decisions. Good work to you, says Mark there from Australia this morning. For us this morning, anyway. Must be so rewarding what you're doing, Les. Yes, so much more education needed to prevent all the pollution in the seas. Great work you're doing there. Doreen Reyes in the United States. My niece will love this. She graduates from Harvard in June and enters the International Master of Science in Marine Biological Resources program, run in 10 leading EU universities. She's got to put the Oceanic Bar on the list of places to visit, starting in the Algarve University. So that's interesting. So yeah, she's got to make the trip to the Azores to see Les, I think. People asking how Mark's doing. That's lovely. Amazing video, says Hara. I think referring basically to your illustrations there. Bon dia from Rina in Helsinki this morning. Hi, Helsinki. Super interesting dynamic talks, Carl. School projects are important. Definitely agree that people cherish and try to save whatever they see. Yes, the visual rather than verbal element that Les was talking about earlier on. Happy to be involved, says Rina, who is maybe signed up already on the Patreon. Do that, folks. Marcus Valbon says Santa Maria Island has fossils as well. Do you know that part of the Azores, Les?
Yes, I've been to Santa Maria quite a few times. Spent some time there. Did some boating there. In fact, it's the first island I arrived on was Santa Maria. My rather strange trip to the Azores, yes.
Okay, DJ says, hola, Pasol. Hi, people. Circus School Paul says, what an informative and fascinating guest. I'm absolutely glued to the show today. Me too. This sounds like fantastic work by Oceanic. The brand, the franchise, all the things Oceanic here in the Azores today with Les Gallagher. No thanks. Rays are bigger than me. I like to see them from my screen. Yeah, those huge manta rays you're talking about, that must be an otherworldly experience. Or your artwork will be a safer way, says Iris. I'm more of a small, pretty fish, Bali kind of snorkeling girl. Play it safe. Would love to find some safe little coves, reefs not too far out. Any good areas? So where's the safest place for snorkeling then in the Azores there, Les?
Probably in a rock pool.
In a rock pool, just down from the bar. There you go. There is something for everybody.
There's no real danger here. I mean, even the diving with sharks. I mean, you have to remember we're in the middle of the ocean here, so the sharks are in an oceanic ecosystem, and they're used to eating fish every day. It's not like outside the rivers of West or South Africa with white sharks looking for carcasses coming down into the ocean or something, or seals. We don't have many seals here, so there's very little. I don't think there's any evidence for any kind of a shark attack where there's been fatalities or even major damage. I think there's more danger from the triggerfish, actually. These little fish that have very sharp teeth, and sometimes they just come and bite you for curiosity. So you might get a triggerfish attacks but not so much shark attacks.
Brings a whole new meaning to the term triggered, doesn't it? That, I mean, they're just curious and give you a little welcoming nibble to the Azores. Amazing. Challenging times with the bar opening. I think some sort of drama is part of the course in that industry, but a great effort to pull it off. You should be on that program, Bar Rescue, by the sound of it, as a consultant now, Les, with everything that you've learned.
Perhaps, yeah, maybe.
And I want to ask you, it's just slightly sort of tangential, but I described you earlier as a Renaissance man, and then you were talking there about the bar. You said, "Oh yeah, I'm a carpenter as well. Oh, and I'm also the captain of the charter boat." So I should have called you Captain Les, really, shouldn't I, or Captain Gallagher this morning? How do you do it all? I mean, this is sort of life lesson, personal development stuff for our audience this morning. There are a lot of brave and courageous people who are moving country and renovating ruins and stuff, and they're thinking, "Oh my goodness, this massive workload, so many things to do, so many things to think about." You're obviously somebody who's triumphed with that. What's your secret?
Well, lots of work, long hours,
Yeah.
self-learning. Self-learning is the most important thing, and try to have, try as much as possible, try to have routines. So that we work with a lot of different areas, but when you're in one particular area, is try and keep a routine helps a lot. So that's if we're out on the boats, etc., is the leaving at the same time, gathering your thoughts the day before, using your time carefully as possible, prioritizing. But I have to say that all of these things that we're doing here, we've had a great experience. But we have to give gratitude to where we are. I mean,
Yes.
Horta has allowed for all this, and it's allowed us to be passionate because we have this great ecosystem. We have this great meeting point for sailors. We have this great interest in marine science, etc. It's the location that is inspiring. In fact, you might see around the site, you see that the phrase we attach to Oceanic is inspired in the Azores, because the Azores is a truly inspiring place. So, as much as we work and do what we can, we take our inspirations from, and our enthusiasm and our energy from nature. So I think appreciation of nature and natural resources, whether it's local wood, whether it's local fisheries, whether it's local whale watching, those are the things we draw from that. It's the location that gives us everything.
What a lovely combination of things. So awe and gratitude, putting you somewhere that is inspiring, putting yourself somewhere that is inspiring, and then managing yourself well. I loved all those things that you were saying there about how you manage that and give others a clue to how to be so prolific and creative. In many ways, says Gary, your guest today is seeking a goal that is similar to our mate Jenny B. He obviously realizes that the future of our planet actually lies with education of our children, who need to know that they can make a difference and have a voice in the world that they're due to inherit. Now, often if you're speaking to, we'll conclude now, Les, but I'm just, I'm aware that you've been very positive, and often when you talk to people about the seas or the environment, it can go very quickly to all the things that are wrong. And clearly there are things wrong and things we do need to sharpen up our act. But do you purposefully take a more positive and inspired view rather than sort of regaling people with all the doom and gloom about it?
I think looking forward, I think we all know we're on a very difficult trajectory. Our relationship as mankind, etc., as people. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us, and this is difficult to consider, but also look back a lot as well. And I have a tremendous appreciation for what we've seen here in the Azores, what we still have in terms of the health of the resources, etc. And so this is very energizing, motivating, and this gives us, we know how good it is, and this gives us a lot of the energy that we need to carry on the work. But we must make every effort. I mean, I know for myself personally, I feel a moral obligation for the next 10 or 15 years to be giving each time more attention to communicating what I've seen during my lifetime, to reaching young people. It's all going to be in their hands very, very soon. Yeah. And they need the perception, they need the consciousness, they need as much help as they can get. So I think we all have a moral responsibility to learn more about what's the reality of what's going on. There are many, many issues facing the planet, the ocean, of course, but on all fronts, we have a tremendous work ahead of us, and it's not going to be easy. That's my perspective on it. We have a lot of work to do.
Yes, and you're cracking on with it clearly, absolutely. There, Les, it's been Captain Les Gallagher of Oceanic and all that Oceanic does in the Azores today. It's been an absolute pleasure and inspiring to talk to you this morning. Thanks so much for being here on a Good Morning Portugal show.
Thank you very much, Carl. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully, we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, Eddie, you have the key to the studio. Let yourself in and come and say whatever you have to say and share with us again your wonderful message and how you're going about things in the inspiring way that you are. If people want to find you, come and stay, come to the bar, learn more about the Azores. I guess if they do a Google search on Azores and Oceanic, they're going to find you, aren't they?
Yeah, if they look for, they'll find us like that, or put Horta. Horta is Horta. We're in the town of Horta. and you'll find us. We're all over the first page of Google.
Tremendous.
Next time, if we come back, we'll talk about the stuff. We'll talk about what we've been doing.
Yeah.
Talk about stuff that we're doing in the future. But I think we can save that perhaps for maybe another episode.
Please do, and have a great night. Have a great night tonight with the reopening of the bar.
I might stay away tonight. I think tomorrow night will be a great night.
Okay, tomorrow night then, and sample. It didn't go unnoticed that you have your own brand, beautifully illustrated, of course, of beer, and vodka and gin. You've got it all sorted. I think
we have. I don't know if there's time if you have to switch off, but I've got a good story about the beer.
Oh, go on, please do. Yeah. What a great parting gift.
When we opened the bar, we have the company that everyone in Portugal knows, the brand Superboc. Who are a wonderful company. And a few years ago, some people may remember that they had a commemorative edition of Superboc. And this beer, I thought it was absolutely gorgeous. I thought it was the best Pilsner I'd ever drunk in Portugal. And we had a tremendous success with it in Oceanic. That first summer, when we started in June, until November, we became the 6th best seller of the commemorative edition beer in the country, which was extraordinary, with a bunch of kids running the place. I helped. I helped. I drank a lot of it.
Well done.
And then they discontinued it. I thought, that's incredible. I was gutted. I couldn't believe it. That's the best Pilsner I'd ever tasted. So hopefully someone from Superboc might be watching. Yeah. So anyway, I was confused. I couldn't understand this. And probably in my stupidity, it was just at the time that Superboc were pushing the IPA, the India Pale Ale. And I thought, I imagine that maybe they'd overestimated the sales of the IPA. This is purely my own thoughts, my own madness. And maybe they had a backlog of IPA, and they mixed the ingredients with the standard Pilsner, and they came up with the commemorative edition or something. So I just started experimenting, and I started mixing some of the Superboc IPA with the standard Superboc Pilsner. And after about a half an hour, I had something that really tasted like the commemorative edition. So anyway, I put together a logo. I checked with the guys from Superboc that we could do this. So we're making a beer cocktail, and we called it Oceanic Whitecap.
Of course.
Because it's got white on the top, of course. And this is our most profitable beer now. So I'm still waiting for Superboc to catch on and bring something back that tasted like their commemorative edition beer, because it was very, very nice.
Amazing. So it is literally a beer cocktail. You have the two separate beers and you draw them into one glass.
Yeah, but I'm not telling what the secret formula is.
Oh, okay. I thought
maybe I'll tell the patent to Superboc.
Yeah, okay. Or that's the highest level of patron. He might give you the secret if you weigh in with €1 million for oceanic conservation and awareness. You might
just negotiate in the bar one evening. I'm sure we can come to an agreement.
Les, have a great day. Have a great evening. So good to talk to you. Take care. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao.
Okay. See you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye for now. Wow, what an amazing man. Captain Les Gallagher there of Oceanic in the Azores there. Horta is what you need to search. I mean, and why wouldn't you? Let's just put the Patreon thing on the screen. I'm going to stick around and probably look at a few news headlines and hang out and chat a little bit with anybody who wants to this morning. But there you go. There's the Patreon site that was mentioned, and you can join at €3, €8 or €25. Or if you're super inspired this morning, you can just say, look, this is really important. I'm going to give you millions, Les and Oceanic, to bring this awareness to the young people that he talked about. That was really very special, wasn't it? And his particular take on things. Great and important work. Thanks and happy Earth Day. I didn't realize it was Earth Day today, but that's a very nice coincidence, isn't it? Marcus Valbon adding Belengish Island have amazing fish also. And Iris Otobar, I must try this special when I get there. Yes, the Oceanic White Cap, I believe, is what you'll be asking for in the bar there. So let's have a look at what's going on in the news headlines. Actually, a pretty tragic story, actually, staying with the marine theme. I believe a huge whale carcass was taken out of the water. In those sad circumstances, we at least see the majesty and magnificence of these incredible creatures. So let's have a look at the Portugal Resident, my favourite English-speaking news source. if I can possibly share it on the screen. I see, Les, you're still in the green room. You don't need to be. Nothing bad will happen if you need to go about your day. So thanks very much, Les. I don't want you to be waiting awkwardly there if you've got other things to do. What an interesting guy, says Mark. What an inspiring bloke. Renaissance man for sure. You know when you're talking to someone, oh yeah, I'm a carpenter as well, and I for 3 months of the year I'm going out on the charter boat as the captain. Fabulous fellow. Okay, let's see if we can get this on the screen for you now. Portugal resident, and look at a few news stories. A slightly earlier finish today, but an amazing conversation there with Les Gallagher. That's quite inspired me this morning. Okay, Portugal resident. Is it on the screen yet? Yes, it is. Okay, and let's have a little scroll through, shall we, and hang out a bit this morning. Yeah, look at that. There's the article about. Look at the size of that thing. Poor creature. A massive whale carcass removed from Villarreal to Santo Antonio shore. It took more than a day to plan, but an operation to remove the carcass of a massive common whale from the shore of Villarreal de Santo Antonio successfully carried out on Wednesday morning. 20 meters long. 20 tons. How extraordinary is that? This is interesting, bit of global news for Portugal and with its presidency of the EU currently, but a bitter blow. One of those phrases that you only really hear in the newspapers, like scuffle and bungle. And here, a bitter blow. Portugal's EU presidency dealt bitter blow as Indian Prime Minister cancels trip to EU-India summit. Another moment of glory at the head of the rotating EU presidency has been dealt yet another blow as India Prime Minister Narendra Modi cancels his visit to the EU-India summit scheduled to take place in Porto next month. And this will, of course, be because of the pandemic. The summit was hailed late last year as one of the crowning points of Portugal's presidency. What a shame, which since it began has been massively compromised by restrictions imposed in the name of controlling COVID-19. All through the 6-month period, which ends in June, it ends in June. Then it's a 6-month presidency. Okay, I wonder what Portugal has managed to achieve in that influential position. Though closer observers of Portugal's role in the EU may be able to tell me that this morning. All through the 6-month period, which ends in June, Portugal's focus has been on 2 key summits, which politicians hoped would be able to go ahead as close to normally as possible. But even with Portugal being the best country in Europe, when it comes, suddenly, look at that, lots changed since January, isn't it? We are now, with the bunny ears there, I hasten to add, the best country in Europe when it comes to the pandemic situation. The truth is that India's is far from under control, hence Mr. Modi's decision. It may be that the entire summit in little over 2 weeks' time will have to be held virtually. Obviously, we're used to that now, aren't we? The importance of the event centres on its purpose, which is a free trade agreement with India, as well as investments protection agreement and an agreement on geographical indications, which is one of those quaint phrases. We're not sure what that means, but sounds good. The objectives come against a background in which China has been renewing military pressure on India. In other words, it is a summit designed to see the EU reinforce links with India in a show of force that would obviously have looked a great deal better if EU leaders could have been seen physically standing alongside India's premier. It's going to have to be Photoshop and Zoom now, folks. Diplomats have told Politico online that the whole event could be at risk in that it will be difficult to organise virtually. What? The world's leading politicians not able to have a Zoom conference. The Portuguese permanent representation to the EU has not responded to Politico's request for comment. India's embassy also had no immediate comment. And over there, the situation looking pretty grim. It has to be said in India right now, but maybe a similar turnaround to Portugal's, like kind of worst in Europe in January and now suddenly the best. And just, finally, let's have an early finish today and just have a look at the current numbers for the pandemic here in Portugal. I don't know about you, but I mean, I think people have really taken the lifting of restrictions. Last Monday saw a new swathe of or a new level of deconfinement occurring. And this is what you see now. Around the streets. It's a very different picture within a few weeks, and the next phase will be early May, won't it? When I don't think we can really describe it, or I can really describe it as the final phase of deconfinement, but very significant. If things are going well numbers wise, and let's have a look at them now. Early May will be another moment to throw off your psychological pandemic-based shackles. Portugal's COVID hospital numbers fall below 400 for the first time in months. So good news today, and this was released yesterday and written by Natasha Don. Thank you, Natasha. Portugal's RT is suddenly back below. We're all use these scientific terms now, don't we, that we wouldn't have done 2 years ago. Portugal's transmission rate suddenly back below 1 at 0.98 nationally. Hospital numbers are the lowest they have been for months. Only 397 poor souls hospitalized as a result of COVID, and only one person has died as a result of the complications due to COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. And that's some interesting writing there, isn't it? As a result of the complications due to COVID-19, that too has changed from a straight out because of. The number of new cases, however, is higher than yesterday's total, 610 cases up, as opposed to Tuesday's up 424, but higher totals on Wednesday are often seen as the weekend testing log catches up. That still cracks me up, because if you take it in isolation as a statistic, but then it's explained by, we don't do testing at the weekend, so it's just the weekend testing lol catching up. You have to know the context, don't you? Whatever the reason, the overall picture is good. Says Natasha. The active case count remains under 25,000, and people have to bear in mind that over 24,500 of these active cases are not causing their sufferers any great inconvenience. Most people have to be informed that they are positive for what boils down to fragments of a genome that could, again, 2 years ago, who would have been talking about fragments of a genome and even barely understanding that, that could be SARS-CoV-2, but equally could be the genome of any other coronavirus. Okay, so making it even more, what would be the right word there? Confusing or, well, strange for sure. Thus, in spite of all the warnings fanned by the media of boroughs at risk of going backwards, the country's risk matrix today sees the overall picture back in the green box, everybody, albeit with incidence levels slightly higher than they were at the previous health authority evaluation. Incidence on the mainland is at 68.9 cases per 100,000. Which sounds tiny to me. The aforementioned Madeira and Azores is at 72.7 cases per 100,000. So both figures are well within the government's red line. That's what we needed to be inside of 120 cases per 100,000. And these are such tiny changes, aren't they, when you're dealing with a sample of 100,000, of course. What today's bulletin does not give us is the incidence numbers for each borough. Something that will be crucial for hundreds of thousands of citizens, peace of mind. And for now, this means peace of mind. I mean, I was thinking that, I was out walking the dog this morning. I was thinking, I feel myself to be quite a resilient person, but also acknowledge that I have been living, each time I go to the bins, I think, am I going to be, if I haven't got a mask on, am I going to be stopped by a passing police car? Factor that up. Hundreds of thousands and millions of times to a national population, and we have been living in a state of anxiety. And what are we going to do to relieve ourselves of that ongoing? What for some people will be amounting to PTSD. Here's one solution. Not probably the best one, but tonight it's the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club. I'm not suggesting that's the best way to deal with your PTSD or anxiety, anybody, but it is one way of perhaps attenuating and managing things for the short term. But, seriously, on a bigger level, will we be entering into any community-based initiative or awareness to remind us that, okay, we've been through something difficult, but let's remember, life is good. We're here to enjoy our lives. And can we come out of, how can we negotiate and maneuver ourselves out of the siege mentality, for want of a better phrase? Anyway, back to the article. For now, this means that the 4 boroughs forced backwards on Monday, the 6 put into suspension, i.e. those not moving forwards, and the 13 that were put on warning of new restrictions actually have no idea what may have changed, either in their favour or against. So talking of stress, I mean, that's going to be a difficult job to be in if you're one of those if you're a head honcho or a team running those boroughs. Anyway, meantime, tabloid reports this morning suggest 6 million citizens left their homes over the weekend, roughly 60% of the population, which takes mobility in Portugal to levels of between 5 to 6% above what was normal before the pandemic. Okay, so people are thinking to themselves, yes, as we did, we deserve a trip out. And looks like even more people are doing that than would normally be doing it to compensate. According to a report, finally here, commissioned to analyse mobility, not since Christmas have so many people been observed in the streets. I was working my way towards a big finish there. But I guess we could have worked that out ourselves, right? That not since Christmas have so many people been observed in the streets. But thank you. That's from the report that was commissioned and part of Natasha Don's writing there in the Portugal Resident. How's everybody doing? Thanks for sharing the papers, says Iris Otoba. Well, funny you should say that. I got a bit of a burn from somebody on YouTube yesterday. Who I have invited, every time I get one of these, sort of what starts off as a bit of trolling and I think quite rude. I can't resist responding to them, I have to say. So someone said, can the political commentary, no one cares what you think about English writers on politics or something like that. And I said, well, nobody, I think some people do. And this is the problem, as I said yesterday, as we grow to have a bigger audience, obviously you can't please everyone all of the time. But, like I said to that person, and I say to any of you, if there's something you don't like on the show, let me know. But also part of the deal is that you come on and talk about something better, okay? Be the change. And Iris there liking the fact that I'm sharing the papers. What's the bar called? The bar called, funnily enough, is Oceanic. Everything Oceanic there in for Les Gallagher in the Azores there in Horta. Selvagem needs to be for exploring as well in South Madeira, says Marcus. Thank you for that. India has a scary COVID variant. We are living in the time of scary COVID variants, aren't we? To balance the scariness there, I have heard that some variants are so not variant that they perhaps shouldn't be called variants. The bandwidth of variation is not significant enough. But I mean, fair enough. People are very, very touchy about it at the moment, and I understand why. That, oh my God, suddenly there's the Madagascan or the Nova Scotian variant or any other one you care to mention that helps continue the terrible fear around this. Great show, Carl. I'm going now to mix some beer cocktails. It's never too early. See you tomorrow. Well, I was just having a similar conversation, Paul, about this. I'm going to be trying Pausa beers, I think, and hopefully I'll be able to do it with the man like Frank, and maybe Gary, you'll be interested as well. Only for the purposes of consumer enjoyment will we be drinking at 9 o'clock or soon after 9 o'clock in the morning, testing out the new Pausa range that I told you yesterday, didn't I? That they'll be available for sampling and purchase at Brunel's soon in central Portugal. But I want to talk more to the man behind the Pausa brand and specifically Pausa beers in the coming days. And it will be part of our, what did I show you yesterday? Let me see if I can find this again. We do need to settle this, the business of which is the best beer in Portugal. Pausa will come into that. Look, it's the battle of the beers, everybody. Obviously, that's on the top level. It's the ongoing battle between Sagres and Superboc. Clearly, Les was a Superboc fan. I'm more of a Sagres fan. But there are other beers that will come into this, like Argus, Crystal, and Pausa, of course, and all the wonderful Musa beers down there in that wonderful part of the name always escapes me, but there's a brilliant craft brewery in Lisbon. The other thing I want to talk to you about this morning before I go, and in connection with our Good Morning Portugal Wine Club, is the have I put a date? Oh yeah, May Day, May the 1st is Saturday night, 8 p.m. We were going to have a Portuguese wine party, raise a glass for freedom, respect, and health. And I think I might have got too carried away with this, because I think by the 1st of May, everyone might have just been raising a glass and gone back to freedom, respect, and health anyway. Are there still legs for this event? Do tell me. Tell me what you think. Tonight, Criterium is the wine of choice of Andy, the Doc Thompson, and Leona, of course, and they'll be leading us through that at 9 o'clock. Let me just have a sip of water. Bear with me. and a little bit of a cough there that I spared you from. Yeah, so Leona and Andy tonight with Criterium, a wine from the Lisboa DOC, produced in their beloved town of Leiria. So that should be interesting tonight. Sadly, I wasn't able to get it, so I've gone local as well. You don't have to have the exact wine. Obviously, it's a good shout to get the wine that's being tasted, and then you can give your view on it from 9 o'clock every Thursday night with the wine ninjas of the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club. If you've got the wine in question, it's great. You can compare notes. But please don't think you can't come if you haven't got the wine. Bring whatever you've got, even if it's water, and hang out and have a chat with us from 9. Before that tonight, 7:30. The battle of the best place. Oh, look, a snowstorm. The battle of the best place to live in Portugal. The finalists tonight, our very own Jerry Lawler will be representing Central Portugal, and he is up against that bit of a newcomer, really. He came in quite by surprise and beat both Neil representing the Alentejo and Mark representing the North to maintain Lisbon. Or to give Lisbon and the Tagus Valley a place in the final tonight. So that's the big battle. The rumble in the jungle continues. I will be putting on the dicky bow again. It's around here somewhere, and being the referee in what I'm hoping will be a nice, clean fight. I somehow doubt it. There's going to be some surprises, and I mean, there's going to be upset, obviously, because someone's going to lose. Someone's going to be a loser tonight, one of those two gentlemen. But I think it's going to be fascinating and helpful to people who are still doubtful about where they want to live in Portugal. And that said, it still could make them even more doubtful. But we'll see. From 7:30, webinar open to everybody this evening from Expats Portugal, our Portugal Calling webinars, increasingly popular, and catch all the previous ones on the Expats Portugal YouTube channel. Subscribe here. Subscribe here. Where are we? Drinking beer in the morning. Nubianet says, yeah, sadly, India isn't doing well and people are being reinfected. Great show today, says Andy, using Austin's Facebook. I think that's how it works. Great show today. Good local news source. You can get the paper delivered to your house. Is the Jornal de Bairrada. I mean, fair play, Andy. That would be quite something to make people watch me translating in my pidgin Portuguese, the Jornal de Bairrada. But maybe you and I should have a beer and have a little bit of a study group, beer and local news. What could possibly go wrong? That sounds like great fun. Thanks for sharing the papers that were shared before. Cheers to you, Iris, for recognising and acknowledging that. Bon dia, Carl and chat. Greetings from Northwest England. Glad I finally caught the show live. From Jordinja. Is that right? Jordinja there. Yes. Open the doors and get the flights going. Well, it's one thing to deconfine and to go back to the some sense of normality here in Portugal, but what happens between the countries is so hard to call, isn't it? And when that will be, people have been asking me every other day, when are the flights going to happen? When can I come to Portugal? We just don't know that, and that relies on the cooperation, obviously, of nation states and their respective positions in this. Bon dia, todos from Virginia, US, from Let's Face It. What a great YouTube moniker that is. And Andrew Gilchrist, looking forward to the final tonight. It's the Tejo Valley. Is that your call on that? I throw my headphone cable back like I've got long locks of hair, don't I? Which I obviously don't have, but it gives me that sense of that anyway. So Tejo Valley for you, Andrew Gilchrist. Interesting. Paul says, I believe the Portuguese government are desperate to get the numbers down so that tourist countries can put Portugal on their green lists, to the sufferance of the Portuguese people who are living there full time. Interesting view, Paul. And we've got to balance, haven't we? How long can we wait? And is it dates or is it data? Sagres Bohemia or Superbox Stout? Confusing the mix there with your darker brews, I think, is what we're talking about there, Andrew. But I do like chilled as well. They're nice, aren't they? I mean, I quite like a Guinness at room temperature, but with the stouts here in Portugal, it's nice to have them chilled, I find. Ooh, nice idea. I have a bottle of Dura Reds ready and waiting. Join us tonight, Jordinja. I'm struggling with that, Jordinja. Tonight, 9 o'clock, Good Morning Portugal Wine Club. If there's a beer I love, it's the Superbock Abadia. It has the nice quick to it. What is that? A quick quench, perhaps, there from Joel. What time is the battle tonight? So finally, then 7:30 for the battle, and 9 o'clock for the wine club tonight. See you at either of those or both. I know some of you are there for both, and I give you 10 out of 10 for your commitment and attendance on that. And so it just remains for me to, yes, probably have a lie down for the rest of the day and get Miss Dickie Bow on for 7:30 tonight for that big battle. Thank you for being here with me. Thanks again to Les. What an amazing fella, telling us all about the wonderful oceanic enterprise that he is the mainstay and inspiration of over there in the Azores, in Horta. Yes, Oceanic Horta Azores, if you want to find out more. Take care. Bye for now. See you tonight. Ciao, ciao.